broadcast for shooters, hunters, and gun enthusiasts. This is the Firearms Radio Network. The bandwidth for this edition of Gun Guy Radio is supplied by LA Police Gear, lapolicegear.com.
Welcome to episode 126 of Gun Guy Radio. This is the podcast that shines a positive light on firearms lifestyle. I am your host, Troy Clopton, standing in for Jake while he is on sabbatical, and this is your weekly dose of positive firearms talk without the politics. Well, today on this show, I am filling in, of course, for Jake, and I wanted to go through all the things we got to go through here. The announcements: we are still looking for gun and gear reviewers, bloggers, and editors for the Firearms Insider. And if you also could help out the show by contributing to the show through purchasing items through Amazon.com via our affiliate banners, and you can find those on the website. Click through those, and it will help out sponsoring Gun Guy Radio, and we would appreciate that. So today I have Doug McDowell with me, and Doug and I typically host a show called God and Guns on the Firearms Radio Network, and we're filling in for a sick person unable to do this week's show, so we apologize for the unprofessional attitudes. Doug's here with me, and we're Kentucky boys, so you guys have to give us lots of liberty with language and accents and things like that. So
absolutely. Thanks for inviting me on with you today. Appreciate it.
Good. We have been pretty busy over at God and Guns, and if any of you guys haven't heard of us, that's okay. You can check us out if you get a chance. This week's topic, Doug and I chose battle rifles. The thing about battle rifles is, they're cool.
Yes, they are.
But listen, neither Doug or I are total experts on anything, but we have lots of experience because we're both old people. And we're old gun guys that have been shooting for a long time. Not as old as some, but older than most. And we'll just go through the definition of what a battle rifle is. There's a lot of misconceptions out there what makes a battle rifle. But I'm just going to use Wikipedia's, it's got a pretty good little introductory paragraph here. I'm just going to steal their writing. It says a battle rifle is a select-fire, magazine-fed military service rifle that fires a full-power rifle cartridge, such as a 7.62 by 5.1 NATO. While the designation of battle rifle is usually given to a post-World War II select-fire infantry rifle, such as the FN-FAL or the M14, or like the HK-G3, or you might know it by HK-91. PTR-91 is like a clone of that, and I think Norinco made like a clone of that back in the day too. No, they made a clone of the M14s, or they did, didn't they? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then it's also used as a term to describe older military full-power semi-automatic rifles as the M1 Grand. And
one of my favorites.
Yeah, and the MAS-49 and the FN-49. So the term battle rifle is a new word. It was introduced in around the 1990s by various firearm publications and several notable writers. It's not defined in military field manuals or anything like that. And so that's pretty much just to give you guys sort of wrap your heads around what we're trying to focus on this week. And the reason for battle rifles are many. I mean, of course, when you're in war, you want a rifle that can reach out and be effective at distance. And so, probably the first and most well-known, what we would consider a battle rifle, would be the M1 Garand. And of course, it came into service in World War II, and it was actually a clip-fed. You load it by a clip that you would slide down into the actual magazine, which was non-detachable, and the clip would click out at the end of the last round. You'd hear a ding, and you'd see the little clip fly out of it. And so that is when you actually are using the proper term, clip. But most more modern, what we consider battle rifles, use a detachable magazine. FAL and the G3 and the M14, they all have detachable magazines. Most of those are around 20 rounds. Some are 25 rounds. But when you're firing a large caliber like the 7.6251 NATO, that keeps you from having too large of a magazine, because most of the time when you're using battle rifles, you're shooting from a prone position.
Off a bipod.
Or off a bipod. Trying to get low to the ground. You don't want to make yourself a big target on the battlefield. So, it's not a rifle like the M4, today's modern, AR-type platforms, where you can hold, 40 rounds in there in the same kind of size. Or even what the Surefire mags are, 50, 90 round magazines.
Yeah.
Real crazy, and they're those fat magazines. But, the 223 is not really considered a battle round cartridge. It's just not got the range. Doesn't have the effectiveness of the full power of the 308 or 7.6251. And the rifles that we're able to have these days are not select fire. Unless, you could go class 3 and you might be able to find someone out there that's got a real M14 that has select fire, but you're talking, $20,000-$30,000 probably on the short side.
Yeah.
And then now it takes forever to get approved on your class 3 tax stamps and stuff. So there are still people doing it. I'm still waiting on a suppressor to go through, but it's been close to a year now. And
really, it's taking a year now.
Yeah, it's 11 months right now. On a suppressor, 22 suppressor. The last one I bought took me 6 months, but that's been a few years back. But it's just, it's just the way it is.
Well, I knew they were running around, 8 months, but yeah. I didn't know it was taking quite that long now.
Some people have said on some of the blogs I've seen that they're a year and a half on some full auto stuff, and just finding anything. People are just snapping them up and. Because they just don't think they're going to be there. It's people are getting some really premium prices for some of those pre-86 model auto select fire guns.
Mm-hmm.
So back to the rifles. Points of use for having a battle rifle. There's lots of reasons. First of all, it's cool.
It is.
Second of all, as far as defending your country, if you were going to, go underneath the Second Amendment of well-regulated militia, you would need, if you're going to defend your country from foreign invasion, you'd want a battle rifle. You'd want something that had long, effective range where you could, shoot from cover from a long distance. And that's what these rifles, give you. A 308 round. There's more modern rounds out there. We were talking about before the show, the 338 Lapua, and the 50 BMG. Those exotic rounds, those are cool, but they're very expensive. And the guns that shoot those are probably 2 to 3 times the cost of your M14, your M1A. Your M1A is the civilian version of the M14. Springfield makes, and there's some other manufacturers, some like custom rifle builders out there. And I'm not expert in that, so I'm not going to show my ignorance. But there are experts out there on the different variants of M14 that are being made. Springfield's probably the most notable by far. who makes the M1A, and they have several different platforms. They've got, the regular standard, and they have the match, the national match, and then they have like I think it's the M21, which has the adjustable cheek stock and adjustable length of pull, things like that. And those guns are, I think when you get to the M21, I think you're talking about like $2,100, $2,200 for one of those. But we're going to go on through the points of use before we get wandering off into the different types of battle rifles, and we'll come back to that. So defending your home, I mean, as far as a rifle that you could reach out and touch someone, depending on where you live. I mean, if you live in downtown urban city, you're not going to be able to point that joker out the window. Kill 7 people before it stops.
You're not going to want to put a 50 BMG down your hallway and pull the trigger.
No, it might cause the pictures on the wall
at the apartment complex. Yeah.
But as far as defending your home or I live at, it'd be okay. I know the proper backstops, and I have a lot of hills around me, so I live out in a rural area, so I can get away with it. But but for a lot of, if you lived out in Texas, out in the rural parts of Texas, and you lived out, or even parts of Georgia, it just depends on where you're at. But for me, I have one ready by the door if I need to take an engine block out of something that's, trying to make egress into my property. I can give it a hard time. I don't know if I can actually bust it. Probably wouldn't need a 50 BMG to actually disable it. I think a 308 would put a hurt on it.
It would. It
would. It would drain all the radiator out for sure.
But I guess depending on where you hit it.
Yeah.
You could cause it some serious pain, though.
Yeah. Well, we're getting off on another subject. But defending your home, defending your country, that's, points of use. Sniper competitions. Just up the road from me is Rock Castle shooting range, and they have annual sniper competitions there, and they have 1,000-yard range. And so you're going to shoot 1,000 yards, you're going to need at least a 308 to do those kind of competitions. And so if you're into sniper competitions or long range target, it's a perfect platform. Now, they're accurate guns. But by far they're not a bolt action gun. They're not going to be your superior long range, 20-something inch long barrel bolt action. They're a working battle gun. They were made, by sort of military spec, as you would say. So they're not going to be as accurate as, something that was designed just truly for long range shooting. But as far as being accurate, 1,000 yards, yeah, they can be fairly accurate at 1,000 yards.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Now, I'm talking about the round itself. Certain models of guns lend themselves to be more accurate than others. We mentioned the FNFAL, the M14 G3, which there was HK91, which is like a G3 with more modern hardware on it. There was the M1 Grand and what the MAS 49, the FN 49. Those guns, I would say out of all those guns, probably the most accurate would probably be your M1 Garand from World War II. Mm-hmm. Now, because it shot a 30-06 instead of the 308 caliber.
Yep. Which is my favorite.
Yeah. 30-06 is a great round. It's got just a little bit, a little bit more speed, I would say. But it's a 30 caliber, just like your 308. People get hung up on that, or the 7.6251 is a 30 cal type bullet. 7.6251 talks more about, it's in NATO terms. But as far as reaching out and touching someone, the design of the M1 Garand is just, it's a tank, man. It's just, if you ran out of bullets, you could beat people to death with it.
Yeah, turn around and club them.
Yeah. And, of course, they had bayonets fixed to them and everything. So, I guess the M14 probably did, too. And I know the FNFAL and the G3, I have a bayonet for my PTR 91. And it's a G3. It's a German G3 bayonet. So these are all, military weapons. So you can, they were set up for bayonet sticking and stuff. So, but as far as back to points of use, long range target, there are lots of competitions around the country. I mean, most formal. First of mind to me is Camp Perry up here in Ohio, just above us. I'm located in Kentucky, and Doug used to be in Kentucky. Doug's now down in Georgia. He's a bulldog guy down there now.
Oh, no. No. He's still a wildcat, I promise you.
He's surrounded by bulldogs.
He is.
Okay. So, but Camp Perry, I think of Camp Perry on the long range competitions, just, like the oldest long range competitions up there. But if you were going to get into long range type competitions, these are the kind of guns you would probably want. Your M4s, your .223 caliber rifles, they're going to be good at 400, maybe 500 yards. But the light weight of that bullet is affected by the wind, and just doesn't have the power to keep on continuing. A lot of people think, the speed is going to cause it to carry farther out there. And the speed can only do so much if you don't have enough mass. And so the weight of that 30 caliber bullet as opposed to that .22, it's like a .222, and it's just a little bit less than .223. The way that bullet just doesn't continue to carry, and so it's more affected by wind. It's more affected by any kind of grass or tree limbs, things like that. It would really deflect it. Whereas a 308, it's got so much mass carrying with it, and it still has that speed that it can continue its flight a lot better. And so that comes into play when you're shooting those long ranges. Now, as far as going back to the guns themselves, again, Doug and I are not experts on battle rifles. I've owned them and shot them for many years, but I'm not calling myself an expert. So we'll defer to you guys out there that are listening. They're laughing at us trying to make descriptions here, but probably the most well known, is probably the M1 Garand. It's probably the granddaddy of them all. Because you could load it quickly, and it was just super accurate, and it just had such a powerful round that it would just decimate the enemy. It would just who was it was talking about it? It was Patton, wasn't it? I think Patton was talking about it being the greatest battle implement ever devised.
Yes,
it served our armed forces. It served the armed forces in the shortest period of time of any of the battle rifles. But it was under George Patton, he was a tank commander. But he still considered that the M1 Garand was the greatest battle implement ever devised. So, it just shows from a military standpoint of how necessary it is to have that long range capability, that powerful weapon. Not that there were ARs back in World War II that you can compare them to, but just having that more powerful weapon than most had out there on the battlefield. But because it was semi-automatic and it was easily reloaded as opposed to the bolt actions of World War I that most of the armies had. Now, I want to talk a little bit about my personal experience with these weapons. The M14, which I don't have M14, I have the M1A Springfield. I've had it for about 12 years. And I can remember the day I got it. I remember getting out and setting up and starting shooting. At that time, I lived on another farm that we owned, and we had a couple hundred acres, so we had plenty of area to shoot that. And I can remember sitting up right off the bat, went out and got some milk jugs and set them out at about 400 yards, and with open sights was just popping those dudes. With the open, stock sights that came on. I remember I put it on paper at 100 yards and then just, adjusted for elevation out to 400, and just a tag driver. I mean, just, but it's a heavy gun. It's got the wood, the walnut stock, big heavy gun. Every accessory for it is expensive. Springfield, man, they make a great gun. I don't have any complaints about it. I still have the gun. I haven't sold it. Still in my little arsenal. But as far as if I wanted to pack that dude, I don't know if I'd want to pack that thing very far, because I've got optic on it, and I've got you put 4 spare 20 round mags on you. You're talking about a couple, several pounds, plus the rifle and the optic and the sling. You're talking about 12 pounds, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as, do I want to go to battle with that rifle, packing it on the field and, chasing down the enemy or whatever? I don't know. At 48, I'm thinking, I might want AR platform, something really light, or, like the AR-10. It's a lot lighter. I have one of those right now. I'm reviewing for Wyndham Arms. They sent me the AR-10, and I've been shooting that, and it's a lot lighter weapon. But it's a carbine. It's a 60-inch barrel as opposed to being the full-length battle rifle 22-inch barrel that comes on M1. So it's a shorter package, and it's got more recoil because of its lightweightness. But as far as ever wanting to think about getting rid of it, no, I probably will always keep it. Just because it's just Americana. It's just super, super accurate. I've got the HK clone, which is the American-made PTR 91, which they used to be made up, Connecticut? I think it was Connecticut. Oh. They just moved to South Carolina because of all the wacky stuff going on in the Northeast. And so they've pulled up stakes and moved to South Carolina. Talked to the owner at SHOT. Talked to him at the NRA last year in Houston about what were they going to do. And he said, "We're getting out. We just don't know where we're going yet." So they were true to the word. They said they were getting out of there, and they pulled up stakes and relocated their whole manufacturing facility down in South Carolina. Now, as far as HKG3. The reason I like the PTR 91 or the HK 91s or any of the HKG3, they're all almost synonymous. You can take parts off one, put them on the other one. The reason I like it is because there are so many of them out there. I can buy magazines, or I have bought magazines. I don't know what the current price on them is because I bought so many, but Cheaper Than Dirt had them for $1.99 a piece for 20 round aluminum German-made HK magazines. So I bought 100 of them.
Really?
Yeah. And then and I liked the gun so much. I bought the PTR PDW, the little short 8.5-inch barrel pistol. Mm-hmm. It's a battle rifle cut down with the 8.5-inch barrel, and you take the rear stock off of it. And I got one of those 50-round drums for it. It's just I call it puff. Because when you shoot that dude, all you see is a fireball about the size of about 4 foot round. You see this big fireball, and a cloud of smoke just rolls off that thing. It's so much fun to shoot. I just love shooting that thing. It's so expensive to shoot though, so I don't shoot it as often as I want to. But the HK G3. What I love about that gun, or those guns, is that you can pop out the pins in it. You don't have to get any screws out. You don't have to get any tools out. You can take your fingers. You can pop out the 2 back pins, slide off the rear receiver cap or the stock on the rifle itself, and you can drop the trigger mechanism out. It just drops down, pulls out, and then you can slide your bolt out, and so you field stripped it in just a couple seconds. So you can clean it right there. You got all your mechanisms you need to work on right there in just a couple seconds, clear it out, drop everything back in, put it back together in no time at all. And so if you wanted to go to a different trigger group, we're not talking about violating NFA regulations here, but if you want to go to a different type of trigger group, or if you wanted to go from a different grip or whatever, you can just pop out 2 pins, pull that back, drop that out, put in another group, and slide different stock on it. So if you wanted to go to a collapsible stock instead of a fixed stock, pop out 2 pins, take it off, put the other one, slide it back on, pop 2 pins back in, you're good to go.
And it's on your G3?
Yeah, it's on the PTR 91, which is a G3 grandson, or whatever you want to call it. But you can take G3 parts, for the most part, and put them on PTR 91 stuff. So the only thing I have a sort of a problem with on that platform is just the mounting of an optic. What they had was a claw mount type setup. So unless you get like one of the newer PTRs that has a mil spec, the rail already welded to the top of the receiver. Unless you buy that version, you have to use like a claw mount, and so you don't really get as much accuracy. So if you were wanting to shoot 1,000 yards with it, you're gonna have a little bit. You're gonna have a hard time probably keeping your zero. Now they say that some of the German, HK German claw mounts can hold their zero. It clamps onto the top charging tube on top of the rifle, and they say they can hold their zero. But I just don't think you're going to be able to hold the zero like the M1. As you just have solid points to mount on the M1A to mount that scope, so it would hold at zero. Now I use a claw mount. I've used a claw mount on mine. On my pistol to put a little red dot. Then I used a claw mount on the PTR 91. I've got a 18-inch barrel, sort of the shorter carbine version, and I put an ACOG, Trijicon ACOG on it, and boy, I just love that. It's a great setup. But I'm not going to be shooting 1,000-yard shots with that setup because it's a 3.5 power ACOG, and yeah, but here in Kentucky, we don't have a lot of 1,000-yard shots. There's usually hills, woods, or cattle between before you get out to 1,000 yards, or people's houses. So, if my effective range on that with the way I've got set up, and with my local community, local area, places to shoot around me, probably 400 yards is what I'm looking at. So that's a perfect setup for that. 3.5 power is plenty powerful. I mean, it's a, if you know Trijicon ACOG sights, they're set up with drop compensation built in. So, if you had a 1,000-yard shot, and you was clear and open range, you knew your backstops, you could take the shot. I just don't know how accurate that optic is going to be mounted on that claw mount, from shot to shot at that range, because just a little variation at 1,000 yards will really throw you way off your target. And so, I probably wouldn't be as confident to take a shot like that with the HK setup, with their scope mounting setup, as I would be with the Springfield Armory's M1A setup. It would just hold zero better. Now, the FN FAL, I've seen a lot of those at gun shows. They have a lot of the same features as the HK G3s. I mean, I think some of the components are actually, compatible with each other, but they are another 308 rifle. I think of those. I think of South Africa, all the battles and stuff in South Africa that went on back in the 60s and 70s and all that era. And you see them in a lot of the movies from the war, with the Korean War to the Vietnam War era up into the. I remember Soldier of Fortune magazine when I was a kid, reading that, and you'd see those in there a lot. Don't have a lot of experience with them. Never shot one, so I can't speak to that at all. As well as the MAS 49, the FN 49. I don't know, Doug, have you run into any of those?
I mean, those are ones you don't see a whole lot around.
I know Century Arms, Century International. Back when I was at FFL, I had my FFL license for about 10 years. And sold, out here in roll sticks for several years, and it just got to be too much hassle and got rid of it. But I know that you could buy the part kits and build them yourselves, those FN FALs back in the day. And you could, depending on what you got, it might be junk or it might be really accurate. But I know that Century International back then used to bring in all those surplus parts, and they were building them and selling them. I think they were like $400 or something, or $400 or $500 back then. I don't know what they would go for now. I think they still even. I haven't looked recently, but I think last time I looked at their site, they still had those FALs up until. I guess they've been banned since then, though. I think the current administration has banned those. as far as being able to be imported, your military weapons.
Right.
But, pre-military and guns that were U.S. service guns coming back into the country, I think they've all been ordered to be scrapped. So, but the M14, there are a few people around that have M14s. I personally know one person that has one. And as far as select fire, select fire is pretty much useless on your battle rifles.
Yeah.
Because, to be able to keep your on target with a 308 and full auto, it can be done, but it's not going to be effective, as picking your targets selectively. And, one round's all it's going to take, guys. With the 308, if you get a good proper center of mass shot, you're going to be pretty much decimating whatever you're shooting at.
You go.
So, you don't need to be shooting off, 20, 30 rounds as fast as you can go. And that drum, I got the drum just because, I'm a kid.
It does look really good on there, though.
It looks awesome. You see a 50-round drum on a pistol, it makes a man cry. So
makes you tear up.
Yeah. And so it's just, that's the great thing about being Americans, right? We can have guns and we can have them just to be as silly as we want. But as far as effective use, a full auto, they even quit using them on the M14s because it was just it was a waste. You couldn't control that thing. Some people could, but by and large, most people couldn't control a full auto 308 the way it was configured for then. And I don't ever see a need that I would need a full auto 308 or 7.6251.
No.
Maybe if you're just being overrun, but your whole 20 round mag is going to be gone in, half a second or something. So, how much effectiveness can you do? You got to switch out mags. You better off to take well aimed shots and from distance.
Well, I'd say that's what their purpose really was anyway. Taking those well aimed, well placed shots and, taking out a target. That's what they were designed for. Unlike you, the full auto, I don't think they really did it much.
Yeah, I would like to put a suppressor on. That would be cool because that would help your stealthiness. Even though the bullet itself is going to report, it would not give away a flash,
right? And
it would not give away exact location of where it originated, but you would hear it streaking through the air. But as far as what, being any kind of NFA type weapon, I think you'd be very fine without even having to do anything to it. Of course, the suppressors was registered, not the gun.
Right.
In the case of a suppressor. What was it? Appleseed Project. A lot of people are not that familiar with rifles. I find there's two camps. One camp is people that grew up in or around towns that didn't hunt, and they usually start off with pistols and work their way over to rifles. And then there's the farmer boys like Doug and I were. Mm-hmm. We started out with shotguns and rifles and worked our way towards pistols because we didn't have a lot of pistols when we were growing up. It was, they might have a 38 special or they might have a old Colt 45 that was granddad's or something. But as far as having pistols, we didn't have that many pistols, and so we started out with rifles.
Yep.
So if you grew up shooting pistols, you don't, you're sort of novices at the rifle side of it. I grew up shooting rifles, but as far as shooting a battle rifle, it's a different thing. Shooting a hunting rifle or a .22 rifle is one thing, but shooting a battle rifle is a total different setup. It's a totally different way of thinking. It's a totally different way of supporting it. You can talk to that, Doug. About deer hunting in Kentucky, what was the most common rifle in deer hunting? It was a 30-30 lever action.
Yep.
Probably Marlin with a 3-9 Tasco or whatever Redfield scope. That's probably
Marlin.
Marlin.
Marlin or Winchester.
Marlin Winchester. That was what most people in our part of the country grew up shooting.
I had one.
Yeah, and my dad had one. I didn't like 30-30s much. I didn't think they were very accurate.
They're accurate enough. The biggest deer I ever shot in Kentucky was a 14-point. I hit him and knocked him down with it. He jumped up and run. We tracked him probably a mile, and another guy wound up shooting him on another ridge way over and killed him and got him. And I sold that rifle, within a week and bought me a 30-06, and that is all I hunt with now.
Yeah. So, I mean, but, growing up with rifles, not everybody understands the proper way to shoot a battle rifle, the way they're designed, unless you went to the military. If you went to military, or maybe you were ROTC or something, and you took some kind of military training. But I'm going to plug the Appleseed Project right here in this, because I started doing the Appleseed projects with my sons probably 5 years ago. And so what the Appleseed is, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it for you guys that maybe already know about it. Appleseed is it is a project of the Revolutionary Veterans War Association. That's a whole big name with lots of stumbles over it. But that's the parent of this Appleseed event. And what Appleseeds are, it's a 2-day event where they take you, and if you don't know anything about shooting rifles, they will sit down with you and show you how to properly hold the rifle, properly get in position. So you do it standing, you do it prone, you do it kneeling, you do it seated. You do transitions from seated to prone to standing. You do all these different transitions. They teach you proper trigger control, proper placement of your hand, proper placement of your cheek, proper use of the sling. The sling has a purpose, not just to carry the rifle, but to help you support that rifle so it becomes rock solid in your hand. So when you're shooting from a standing position, you have a really, really good posture, really good support to shoot with using the rifle sling that I never even knew about until I went to one of these events. They also teach you how to zero in your sights. So if you're using open sights, it teach you how to shoot, zero in your sights. If you're using optic, they'll teach you how to zero in your optic. They teach you, bullet drop. They teach you windage. They teach you everything you need to know about how to operate a battle rifle. And for kids and women, it used to be free. And then I think they went to $5, and I don't know what the current cost is. I put a link in the show notes here. You guys can check it out. But for men that weren't military or I think it was military, police, firefighters, those that are in public service, they were free. You could get a free ticket to go to it. It's an all volunteer-run organization. Excellent bunch of people. I know a lot of the guys in there. But if you have a battle rifle and you just don't know how to shoot it, you thought it was cool, you picked it up at the gun store, you picked it up at a gun show, or you bought it off of some guy on Facebook and are just sort of intimidated by it, go to an Appleseed. Now, most of the Appleseed events are set up for 22s. So you start off with a 22 rifle that teach you the basic fundamentals of shooting a battle rifle. And then there are some full power events. So if you want to go shoot 400,000 yard shots, you can take your full power battle rifle out. And there's one coming up in September here in Kentucky at Rock Castle. And you go to appleseedinfo.org. And you can find all the different places in your state that offer this training. And for a 2-day event, I think the last time I checked, it was like $70 or $80 for a 2-day event, and it is some of the best instruction I ever got.
Our gun range that I'm a member of down here in Georgia, we just had one, I think it was last weekend, and I was on call and didn't get the chance to go to it, wanted to. Buddy and I were going to do it, and I think it was $60 is what they were charging for the 2 days for our club. So, I mean, that's nothing for that kind of training.
Yeah, and it's, there'll be 4 or 5 instructors, and the classes are usually limited to no more than, I think, 20 or 25 people. It depends on the size of the range, but I think it's like 20 to 25 people, and it's just great stuff. They have a list of the recommended items to take, follow that list because you'll need that stuff, depending on your weather and your range and stuff. Mm-hmm. But as far as just excellent instruction, and as far as just taking the time to help you, figure out what's going on and help you improve your scores. When you first get there, you'll get a sheet, and they'll say, hey, shoot this how you're used to shooting. And at the end of the thing, they'll say, okay, compare your beginning one to the end one. It's astronomical, the amount of improvement you make in just that short period of time. So, but I don't want to, drag out everything into Appleseed. But the other aspect of Appleseed is while you take breaks, whenever you take a break to cool off and get you a drink or warm up, depending on where you're at and what time of the year it is. But they teach American Revolutionary War history. So they talk about what led up to the battle, the shot heard around the world. Right? What was the things leading up to that? Then they talk about what events happened during that. They talk about different characters of the Revolutionary War. You're talking about, I'm trying to think of the guy's name. Oh, it slips my mind right now. But there's this old guy that I most resonate with. I mean, he's probably a lot older than I am, but they call him the Death on a Pale Horse, and it's an older gentleman who's way, gray-haired man, way too old to be out fighting the battle. But he gets on his horse and he rides out to the edge of the battle, and he would pick off redcoats at long distance, shooting off the top of his horse's back with a rifle. He was always he'd always ride up and get just outside of the range of those of the redcoats, and he would pick off one, and then they'd take off after him. They come running up the hill after him with their bayonets and chase him. He'd get up on his horse. He'd ride down the road a little bit, set back up. And when they come marching down through there, he'd pick off another one. And he did that for miles and miles and miles. And it was just multitudes of different cool stories about the battle. All the things that were going on from both sides. It talks about what the redcoats thought. So, and that's just part of that whole experience of the Appleseed Project. So check that out. Now, the other benefit of the Appleseed Project is that if you join the Revolutionary Veteran Wars Association, you're in, and you complete your Appleseed program, you're in their club, or I guess you call it club. And so that qualifies you to be able to purchase arms through the CMP. And everybody's thinking, well, what's a CMP? And so the CMP is a Civilian Marksmanship Program.
Yep. So
there are certain gun clubs. Now, you may already be in a gun club that allows you to purchase from the CMP, but the Civilian Marksmanship Program was established to help train citizens on how to properly shoot battle rifles. Huh. I mean, there was such a thing? Yes, there was. It was originally started up to help people learn how to shoot and shoot well, and teach young people how to shoot. And by joining by being able to purchase from the CMP, you can buy a M1 Garand or whatever the guns they have available at the time. They have different guns available at the time, but you could buy you an M1 Garand that has been restored by the Civilian Marksmanship Program. And you can have that shipped straight to your house. You don't have to go through FFL. You don't have to go to a gun store. You qualify to be able to purchase that shipped directly to you. So you can find out more information about the CMP at thecmp.org, and they have links in there like which clubs you'd have to be a member of in order to qualify for that. And they have other guns too. They have air guns, like the trainers for kids and young people. They used to have they had a bunch of like 22 type match rifles. And then you used to be able to buy a lot of ammunition on there. I bought a bunch of ammunition from them a whole lot cheaper because it was all Army surplus ammo back in the day. Pennies on the dollar compared to what you had to pay for commercially produced ammo now. That's just another benefit of Appleseed. Well, I think we sort of have really messed all over this thing called battle rifles. So, anything else you'd like to throw in there, Doug?
Yeah, I was just going to say one thing about talking about the M1 Garand, which is one of the ones that I want. I want to get one so bad. Mm-hmm. We had a little shoot here a while back up at the gun range that I go to, and you could use any military style rifle you wanted, except you could no AKs, no ARs, so it had to be something else. And probably 80% of the guys, probably maybe a little more than that, all the guys that were shooting M1 Garands, open sights, 100 yards, just wearing it out. When you talk about accurate, you ain't kidding, man. They are accurate guns.
Oh, yeah.
But they're heavy.
Yeah, they're heavy guns. I mean, it's not something you need to be in shape to pack one of those around and enough ammo to be effective. We have to get you a horse to carry your weapon when you get our age, right?
Yeah. Hey, also, I think on that CMP, I think the website for that is actually thecmp.org.
Oh, okay. So it's thecmp.org. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, if you wanted to go to Camp Perry, there's www.competitions.htm. So that is a bunch of stuff for you. Hopefully you found it enjoyable, or it will pique your interest to check out these things. Can't say enough good things about a Springfield 1A. Love that gun. And the PTR. Can't speak to the other ones because I just don't know them. I'm sure a lot of you guys are out there can give some good advice. And when Jake comes back, you can complain about us old Kentucky boys. But So we want to thank the sponsor, LA Police Gear, and you can find their store online at lapolicegear.com. And we're supposed to talk about what we like about LA Police Gear, and I apologize. I know a little bit. I've looked at some of their products and stuff, and but what I can tell you is about I have bought some of their shirts, the True Spec shirts they sell. And so I was going to tell you guys about the True Spec short sleeve tactical shirts. I've bought those for the last 3 years or so, and I use them for my work shirts. They make big and tall sizes. I'm a big and tall guy, and so they wear well. They wash well, and I don't have to ever iron them. I just wash them and hang them on my hanger and let it dry, and wear them all the time. I've never had one rip out. I've never lost a button off of them. The ones that are 3 years old are starting to get a little bit threadbare, but I wear them 4 or 5 days a week. So it's they're great shirts. You can find them on their website. And let's see, did you have something, Doug, that you were talking about on there?
For LA Police Gear?
Oh no, that you were going to talk about Duluth, weren't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So the thing about LA Police Gear, they have a 365-day return policy, which is cool, and they have free shipping on all orders over $89. So if you could please check out LA Police Gear, and that helps support our programs, and so we really appreciate them being a sponsor of the show.
Absolutely.
And then we have another sponsor, the Duluth Trading, and you can go to their webpage, use our link, gunguyradio.com/Duluth, DULUTH. And so Doug had something he wanted to tell you guys about.
Yeah, I don't know how you are, Troy, but I tell you, some of the toughest things to find, especially when you carry every day, is find a good quality belt, and Duluth Trading has a lot of those out there. There's several models. It's they pride themselves. One of the things they say is, the leather in their belts is 40% thicker than most other belts. And if you ever go to Walmart or someplace like that and buy a leather belt, within 2 weeks it's already twisted and starting to move around and change positions. It doesn't hold its form. And it's hard especially when you're carrying a sidearm like you and I normally do. Mm-hmm. It's hard to do that. So they pride themselves on having a thicker belt that's not going to move around on you. And you can, I think you made a comment a while ago, you can cinch that sucker down, and it stays where you want it to be. Yeah. It's real good. They also have. One thing that they pride themselves in is their guarantee. It's the Duluth Trading Company's no bull guarantee. if you're not 100% satisfied with the purchase, you send that back to Duluth for a full refund, or you can swap it out you can change it for something else, and it's unconditional, no nonsense, no bull.
That's cool. They also have free shipping on any orders over $50. So
yeah, they do.
So it's great products, great service, and with that kind of guarantee, you can't go wrong. I mean, if
you cannot.
If you get something you don't like, you send it back and get something else, or get your money back.
Go out and hit these sponsors up, man. They're sponsoring the show for us to get on there and talk and tell you a little bit about guns and have a good time with these shows. And they're supporting us, so let's make sure we go out and support those guys.
Spotlight on Gun Guy Radio, and we have our correspondent Paul Levy, the category manager there at Brownells. Hey, Paul.
Hey, Jake. How's it going?
It's going great. So we're back into the AR-15 world, talking about the DRD Tactical Quick Takedown Build Kit. So what is this?
Well, it's basically three components. I've got it assembled somewhat right here, but what the build kit consists of is an upper receiver, almost standard upper receiver. You have your handguard, and then you have your barrel nut, which I'll get to here in a second. So basically, if you buy these three components, you can have any other AR components. You have your standard barrel, your standard gas block, your bulk carry group, and turn your rifle or your parts into an AR-15 with a quick change barrel. And it's really pretty ingenious how it functions. As you can see here it is assembled. And I've just got kind of a crummy barrel here, no name manufacturer, just for demonstration. But the real heart of this is right here in this barrel nut and lockup. This is where it all takes place and what makes the product really interesting. Basically, to unlock the handguard, you have this lever here on the side, pull it outward, and it just cams open. You can tighten that cam via this screw on the side. So it's not going to unlatch on you and have the handguard fall off. Because in addition to that, you have to pull this pin right here on the side. And once that's pulled, then you can pull the handguard off. You'll see it just slide off like so. And now I just have this, again, assembled for demonstration. But what you'd normally have is your gas block installed on your barrel. And then you'd have your gas tube, of course. And then this barrel nut installed behind the gas block or the front sight post. Actually, just a gas block on this. And then this barrel nut, you just tighten hand tight. You'll notice it doesn't have any flats for wrenches. You just unscrew it by hand. And that's possible due to the lockup of the handguard on the exterior, because the handguard will lock up so that this barrel nut can't move at all. So you just have to secure it down hand tight. So there the barrel nut comes off, and your barrel's out.
Right.
And that fast, you'd have the barrel off, and at the same time, you can attach a new barrel, whatever you want. If you got 300 blackout, something like that.
Right, that seems perfect for a 300 blackout 5.56 combo.
Yeah, and if you don't want to have multiple uppers and a bunch of different stuff floating around your house, or you're safe, it's probably the way to go. And the only difference on this upper, again, it's their design on their upper receiver. Looks like a standard upper receiver, but you'll see that the handguard indexes right there in the aluminum. So that prevents the handguard from rotating and that barrel nut from rotating off.
That's what I was wondering. What keeps that from rotating?
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and do it in reverse. So I take my barrel, install it, and you just need a standard AR-15 barrel. You don't have to modify it at all. You just have to, if you want to install, when you install your gas block, just place this barrel nut in front of it. So then I go ahead, screw that down. Again, hand tight, nice and snug. And then take your handguard, slide that over, and you will need a low-profile gas block for that, unless you have a rifle-length front sight, and that'll go out there. This will cover up a mid-length carbine, pistol-length tubes. So there I got it installed over. This pin goes through the barrel nut, and then this lever cams in. I don't know if I had that on camera there. There, I'll push this pin in. That locks in the barrel nut, so then my handguard can't come off. And the lever just cams in and then tightens this up over the barrel nut. You see that cut out there? When that cams in, that just tightens up the whole handguard on top of the barrel nut. So
Very
then
cool.
That's not coming off. There's no play. You're not going to accidentally be running around and have this just fall apart on you. And again, that fast, I wasn't even really going for speed there. That took all of 2-3 minutes while I'm talking, and you could swap out a new barrel. Also on the handguard itself, really a pretty slim handguard. Everybody's looking for lightweight, slim. This is that. And it accepts Magpul MOE rails, so you can attach those in these attachment points here. So you can have plenty of attachment points. But otherwise, it's smooth on the sides. It feels good when you're grabbing it. You're not going to just gouge your hands on a bunch of Picatinny rails. But the top Picatinny rail is made quite well, deburred and everything, so it's not snagging. Really a pretty well made piece of equipment. And there's the other side where it locks up. You can see the screw needed to tighten it up, and you can see that pin that locks through the barrel nut.
Very cool. Yeah, pretty impressive how quickly you can change that out.
Yeah, and we do sell the barrel nut separate, so that way you can purchase multiple barrel nuts, and then you can swap out a variety of barrels. So you purchase the kit, which comes with the upper receiver, the handguard, and the barrel nut, and then you can purchase as many barrel nuts as you need after the fact. And then again, it works with any standard AR-15.
Right, because you'll have to have a barrel nut for each barrel because you won't be able to get it off over the gas block.
Correct. Yep. And then that's what the barrel nut looks like right there. You can see it interfaces with just standard AR-15 threads, and then when I engage that brass pin, that's where it engages. So that prevents it from moving forward, and then when the clamp goes on and forces down, it clamps on the exterior right there. So
very cool.
A lot of surface area. That thing's not going to move around on you. Here, I'll bring this up again just to kind of show that mechanism. See that there? That pin will lock in, and the lever cams down. And then there's your interlocking tab that interfaces with your upper receiver. You'll see that right there. That'll lock in right there. So this isn't going to rotate off, and since this can't rotate, the barrel nut can't rotate, so which is going to prevent the barrel from just flopping off your gun.
Yeah, it makes sense. You kind of wonder why no one thought of this sooner.
Yeah, and the neat thing is doesn't have a bunch of gizmos on the side, not a bunch of screws. It's fairly small and a compact package. Like, yes, that lever's there, but it's not just obnoxious on the side. It doesn't take up a lot of real estate on the handguard itself. So really, if you look at it from the side, it's not like that looks. It's not this giant thing that's going to get in the way anyways.
Right. So, very cool. I'll have links to the DRD Tactical Quick Takedown upper receiver and rail combo to check that out at Brownell's. And the show notes are below this video, so you can click right through and check that out. So, well, thank you so much, Paul. I appreciate you bringing all these cool new things on the program, and I can't wait to see what you have next week.
So that wraps up that. We're going on to the, let's see, this is Patreon, and I believe that's something that, I apologize for my ignorance on this. This is a program that will be coming up in July that Jake had talked about previously, and it's a way for the listeners to help support the program. You know, there's a lot of cost involved in putting these shows together, and the time dedicated by the host and by especially Jake, his investment in this. And so this is a way that maybe you guys can help, give a little love back to Jake for his investment and all the time he puts in, time away from his family. And, check that out. I'm sure more details will be revealed coming up when Jake gets back here in July, a couple weeks, or I guess about a week. So check that out. And then there's an AR-15 rifle giveaway, and there's no details here. I'm thinking maybe that's on the AR-15 podcast. I think that's what it's referring to. So you guys are probably all screaming into your computers right now, your whatever's. You dummy, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, I know, I'm sorry. AR-15 rifle giveaway. I'm not eligible to do that since I'm a host on the Firearms Radio Network, but if I were, I would be over there signing up for that. So, but I think that's the AR-15 podcast, so you guys can check that out. So you can enter by subscribing to our email newsletter and going to gunguy.com/winner. Oh, I guess that's how you get in there.
Yep. That's how you do it.
All right. So you can enter the AR-15 rifle giveaway by going to www.gunguyradio.com/winner. Duh. Okay. So again, we want to thank another sponsor, Ryan Cross, Hunter of Design, hunterofdesign.com. Ryan has done most, I think, of the logos for the Firearms Radio Network. I know he has done the one for Guide and Guns podcast. It is an awesome logo. If you guys have not seen it, check out our logo on our website.
Absolutely.
It is just phenomenal. I remember Mike was on the show at that time. He was the host, and I was just sort of co-hosting. And he sent me a picture of a couple pistols and a cross in the background. And I said, well, why don't I make it this color? And he said, yeah. And so he sent it back to Ryan, and then it's like, boom, he comes back, like, okay. So, and I was like, well, let's take this color out and put this color in. And he goes, yeah. And he said, I want to do this and this. And it's just like in a matter of like an hour or two, Ryan had went from like a white and black background to this awesome logo we've got now that just everyone's like, that is so cool.
Double gold 45s.
Double gold 45s and a cross standing up in the background. It's a really cool design. So he is amazing. Check out his designs at hunterofdesign.com. So we're going to wrap it up. Feedback, please share your thoughts by leaving a comment at the bottom of the show notes or YouTube video for this week's episode. Well, we don't have a YouTube video because we're just doing audio this week, so I apologize for that. Remember to subscribe to us in iTunes so that you never miss a show, and please leave us a review there as well. And you can find that at gunguyradio.com/iTunes. And please join the NRA. We say the same thing on our show. If you aren't supporting the NRA, those guys and gals out there working day in, day out to defend your Second Amendment rights, you ought to be ashamed. So you can join the NRA through a link in our show notes down here, and it will help. We get something out of that. I don't know, it's not a whole lot, but if you join through us, it helps out the show to continue on. And then also join the Second Amendment Foundation. I also am a member of the Second Amendment Foundation, and I try to support everybody that supports my rights to bear arms. So
absolutely.
It doesn't cost that much. It's a box of 22s these days. A box of 50 round box of 22s will cost you as much as a Second Amendment Foundation membership. So, so guys, support these people that are out there defending your right, and your children's rights, and your grandchildren maybe down the road if you're not as old as I am, rights. So, and don't forget to shop at Brownells. Use our affiliate link, gunguyradio.com/satisfaction. And I'm not going to spell that for you because you guys can spell it yourself.
Probably better than us.
Yeah, I'll probably mess it up even reading it. So you can also contribute to the show by shopping at Amazon.com through our link on our page here. So make sure you click through there to do any shopping. That will help out the show as well. And don't forget to check out the other shows on Firearms Radio Network. Subscribe and listen for free at farmsradio.tv/iTunes.
What's that one really good one over there? God and Guns?
Yeah, that's what I keep hearing.
Come check it out.
All right. Well, thanks a lot. I appreciate you putting up with a couple Kentucky boys this week.
This has been a production of the Firearms Radio Network. You can find more information at firearmsradio.tv.